Hey everybody, today we are going to be doing a mixed media background. Sometimes it's hard to start or make sense of an abstract mixed media background. In this video, I want to give you 4 basic steps to follow to help you get started on your own mixed media background. You will also have a chance to win many of the items I used today in a giveaway that I am currently holding. So please keep watching to learn all the details. So I am going to be doing this in a time lapse, and I am just starting on a blank page that I have in my art journal. If you want to look in the corner there for the link as to how I made this art journal, I will put that up in the little eye thing there. The paper I am using is watercolor paper. It's just 140 pound. It's not like the most expensive watercolor paper. It's actually from Artist Loft. It comes in a package of 3, so you get 72 papers, and so it's a good weight. The reason why I choose watercolor paper is because it can work for collage and putting lots of mediums on it, and it'll also work for if I just want to paint watercolor on this. This journal is specifically for my whimsical faces that I'm doing. And I'm going to be doing a lot of different kinds of backgrounds in here, so I wanted a heavy paper, but I also wanted watercolor to work on it. So that's why I chose the color. Now the first step in creating a mixed media background, to kind of make some rhyme or reason of it, the first thing that will help you is to prepare your workspace ahead of time. So basically that just means not necessarily to have it all tidy. What I want you to do is just take out all your art supplies, or the ones that you think you'll be using. So if you have some wax pastels, if you have some oil pastels, some aqua pastels from Jane Davenport, some mermaid markers, watercolors. I'm using Jane Davenport's watercolors. You can use whatever color watercolors you want. Pencil crayons, watercolor pencils, inks, acrylic paint, all that sort of stuff. Get that out. A couple different brushes. And also get out some mediums that you might want to use. If you think you might want to use some modeling paste, if you want to use some collage papers like I am doing here, you can do that. Stamps, what else? Stencils. Get all of that out, and that will help you, because then it's all right there and you don't have to think, oh, what else do I have to add to this? It's all just right there in front of you, and you can just kind of grab whatever's around you. And that is honestly kind of the best way to start this. So what you want to do is you want to break a blank page. There are some really good sources on YouTube for how to do this. One that I want to tell you about, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's called Marami Small Art. That is her channel, and she is great. She has a whole series on breaking a blank journal page, and she has lots of good ideas. I mean, some of it is just using masking tape, some of it's using washi tape. It's really great. So I will try to remember to put a link, but if not, you can find her channel. It's just M-A-R-E-M-I and then blank small art. Okay, so I am also putting paper underneath on both sides of that so that it doesn't bleed through to the other art journal pages underneath. So I'm just putting some paper that I don't care what happens to it, just to kind of help that through. And what you want to do when you're breaking this blank page, and what I did with the watercolor, is I am just trying to get some creativity flowing, just to get kind of warmed up and just getting kind of excited about how different colors look together and whatever. And that's going to help me for the other layers. Okay, so that's your first step. The second step is kind of what we're on to right now. You want to create some textures. So I have put down some collage papers, and that was from Jane Davenport as well, actually, and I used a script stamp there. You could see that I used a stencil up on the top there, and I'm blotting some inks, and I am using a rose stamp. I'm going to be putting some just some various stamps there. I just want a few designs. Some of it can be more descript, some of it can just be some nondescript kind of shape, and that all works, and that actually will take us to the next step, the next kind of note I want to make. When you're doing this, you want to have a variety of nondescript shapes and more detailed shapes. So you can see that I'm taking the rose and I'm just kind of putting it over top. So you want to create contrast with colors and shapes. So obviously if there's a yellow area, a yellow space, then I'm going to put a contrasting color over top of it. You can see where I put the magenta script color there with the, I think that was a stencil or was a stamp, I can't remember. That is contrasting with the background behind it. Even if it's the same color, if you have a pastel or pale kind of color underneath, put a vibrant color on top of it, even if it's the same color. It will create contrast. And then with shapes, you want to put some more detailed shapes on there on top of some kind of just blobs of color. And that will help as well. And there's no real rhyme or reason at this point as to where you're putting things. I guess I kind of thought through the stencil up top and then those collage papers, which are just those blocks. And I just kind of put them off to the side so that they're not, you know, I can use them for interest, but they're not going to be covered over probably. And if I want to cover over some of it, I can, but I can leave some of it because they're just on the edges. And so it gives me something to work with. And here I am using that stencil just to create another kind of shape that will draw the interest. And those other stamps that I used are just kind of to add texture. They're not necessarily going to bring the eye right to them. They're just another thing added on the back of the page to just add to everything. Same as the stamp that I'm using now. It's just a bunch of polka dots, and I use this stamp so much. You just wheel it on there and it creates really cool effects. So here I am using my Jane Davenport Inkredibles, and these are, I watered them down a little bit and kept them in her Inkredible palette. And so that's just a little bit less intense than the inks straight from the bottle, which I also use. And you'll see that in a bit. And I also have a white crayon. You can use, this is a Crayola one, but I also have like a fancy white crayon. And these will provide some resist effects. And I'm just kind of scribbling wherever, just with different things, making a few lines. Sometimes if you don't know what shape, you don't really draw shapes, just draw a bunch of lines, like what I'm doing. I'm kind of doing, I don't know what that is over there, some shapes. And it may end up being noticeable on the final, on the finished project, and it may not. And you can see there, I am just adding little dots. So these, the ones that I have to the left there that I just closed, those are not neocolor water-soluble crayons. Those are oil pastels and wax pastels that are not water-soluble. But I do have some other ones that I have that came in that tin, and I have them just off to the side in a little jar because I like to have them handy. Now I am just kind of blending some of this together with some pink, watered down pink paint. I'm actually using some of my distress paints, and some of them work and some of them don't. Some of them are kind of old, so they just didn't work as well as what I wanted. And you can see like up in the corner there, up in the top left corner, I have like some pink. I like to put paint around my edges and then kind of work through that. You can see in the bottom also, on top of those squares, that I added some paint there. And you can see that provides some more space that I can put a detailed stamp on, or a detailed some kind of image on. And it softens what's already there and also makes a good background and contrast to put another layer on top of. And so at this point, so we've covered preparing your workspace. Then you're going to break the blank page, which was just me doing the watercolor wash, just of various colors. And the next step is creating texture. And honestly, the whole rest of the thing is creating texture, but to break it down a little bit, after you kind of create a bunch of texture, at some point you're going to need to look at it a little bit more critically, which is where we're at now. And I'm just, you can see that I'm adding some just a couple brushes of like rectangular kind of shapes of color, and then just putting some little smaller detailed brush strokes in there. And I'm just looking for where I might want to have a little bit more of a quiet space and not so busy of a space. And this is actually a tube of thinned out paint, so it's basically like fluid paint that I made from Jane Davenport's acrylic paint, and I just used distilled water and Flow Aid from Liquitex, and I'm going to be doing a video on that as well. I haven't done it yet, but I will. And now I have some of those spaces, and so I can make another layer. And I know it's just kind of like you're just making layers and making layers. So I covered up some details and now I'm putting more details down, but that's the whole point. It's just to make a whole bunch of layers. If we're like, well, I covered up some detailed stuff, so I don't want to put more detailed stuff down, that's kind of not how we're thinking through this. We just keep going back and forth until we feel like, you know what, I think it's done, or I'm finished working on it. And I really like the look of the script stamp that I just did. It just adds some good squiggles in there that are script. You can't read it, but it's kind of fun. And now I'm spraying with water the tube that is, or the ink that is straight from the bottle from Jane Davenport's Inkredible inks. And then I just sprayed it with water. And you can see up top on the very right, you can see how that resist pattern, like with the turquoise, and then there's yellow little lines going through it. You can see how that created that resist pattern that I did. And I'm just kind of moving my journal around just to make that color flow a little bit more. And I always use clips to hold my art journal open so that I don't have to worry about pages flipping closed on me. And here's my neocolor wax pastel that I'm using, which is, you can see the tin for that, but it's kind of confusing because I don't keep those in the tin anymore and I keep oil pastels. And now again, I am doing some more with the paint, with some acrylic paint and I just kind of thought, well, what else can I do here? I wasn't quite finished and I wanted to add a little bit more, especially to the left. I'm going to put the face, the girl, on the left, and I just wanted some more stuff around her. And those inks that are coming right from the bottle, they just help to just bring in some more really vibrant color. The other stuff is kind of all pale, and I just wanted some difference. You want some contrast in your color values, so you want some lighter values and then some more intense values. I don't even know what kind of shape that's supposed to be. I don't know what my plan was there. Looks like I'm covering it up. And the other thing that you want to do is blow dry or use your heat gun or whatever, or just let it dry. I don't like to walk away and let it dry because I kind of feel like I'm in the moment, so I kind of want to just keep going, especially with mixed media. It's not a big deal to let to hit it with a blow dryer or a heat gun. Watercolors, you might want to let it dry more naturally just because it can create a different effect, but with mixed media, I just say go ahead and blow dry that, because you're in the moment and you can keep working that way. Another thing that I want to say about the collage elements that I use, those pink squares in the middle and then the bluish green ones on the bottom, they just help provide a little bit of a place for your eye to rest, like a recognizable shape, like, okay, those are squares. Like, we don't consciously think like that, but subconsciously our brain kind of needs some recognizable shapes just to help us make sense of that kind of mess, you know. It does look like kind of a mess, but it looks like an interesting mess. So that's the difference between a mess that is just like, I don't know what that is, and a mess that there is something that makes sense to it and makes it pretty. I think the biggest thing that makes this, you know, if you were to describe it pretty, I would say it's the colors. So, you know, and the more you work with the colors, the more you see what colors work good together. And you may start and you may get some mud if you don't know which colors go together that make mud. And what I mean by mud is just a neutral color, but it's not looking all that great neutral. And if that happens, just cover up your page with gesso, or just keep going until you cover it over with something else. So it's never all, you know, it's not like all is lost. And here I'm putting some butterflies because I needed some more recognizable shapes again. And I just want something every you know, a little bit throughout the page that says, okay, this is a shape I know, this is a shape I know, and this is a shape I know. And that's just a few of those will be good for making sense, for helping you make sense. And now I have decided that I am done, and I'm actually covering it with matte medium. You can use Mod Podge or gel medium, but it'll be more of a slick surface, and to paint on, this matte medium works really good. It's awesome, actually. It gives such a nice finish to the page. So I have the background pretty much done. I might add things once I get a figure or a face on here, but this is my mixed media background, and I hope that gave you some tips that you can follow. I know lots of times people are questioning, like, how do they get started with a mixed media background, because there's no real order to it. So I've tried to give you a little bit of that, hopefully give you some tips so that you don't end up just making a big mud mess with it. I just want to tell you about the giveaway. There's collage papers, which is just been added. I didn't mention these in previous videos I did of my Jane Davenport playlist, because I didn't have these and I didn't know if I was going to be able to get any to give away. And same as the Inkredible pen. So this is a new thing that I added into the giveaway. And then there's the washi tape, the acrylic face stamps, the Watercolor Brights palette. And I have videos for a lot of these things where I'm using, and I'm going to be doing more, and they'll all be in the playlist right there. And I am going to be adding a part 2 to finish up this page. To enter for the giveaway, you just need to watch every video in the Jane Davenport playlist, comment on each one. You can comment as many times as you want, and each comment is an entry, but you have to comment at least one on every video, and you need to be subscribed to me. And also give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. The reason why I say thumbs down is because I don't like forcing people to like something that they may not like. So if you didn't really like a video of mine, give it a thumbs down and then comment and let me know why you gave it a thumbs down. You know, in a nice way. All right, so I am going to finish this video up, and then I'm going to go on and make a part 2.